Um, so the back part of the brain is where we have the fight, flight, freeze. Fight means they get defensive, and you will hear them. When the parents call for a flight check, they're going to go, what did I do? I didn't do anything wrong. It's all defensive words and actions, okay? And they're in that back part of their mind. That's where they throw their temper tantrums, their screaming fits. They argue about everything. Mine would argue about if the sun came up and what day of the week it was. We're like, really? They're very negative. I can't. I don't know. It's too hard. That means it's all in that back part of their brain. They haven't moved to logic and reasoning. The flight, they're running away, they're hypervigilant, stress-filled, and anxious, or freeze. They just shut down. Click. And they're gone. Okay? They cannot take in any new information when this part of their brain is more active than the other parts of their brain. And that's when most parents give their finest lectures. Like driving down I-70, roll down the window and spit. What would happen if you did that? Stick your head out and spit at 70 miles an hour. It's going to go right back in your face. Absolutely. So giving a child a lecture when they're out of their mind, literally out of the thinking part of their mind, is just as stupid as that. Okay, so we don't give lectures anyway, but when they're in that part of their mind, we see those behaviors. We know we can't reason with them because there's no reasoning, there's no logic available at all. We wait, help them shift gears in the brain and move forward. All right? And this survival mode is much bigger in our children's brain. I hope the brain pictures are in there. Sort of made scrambled eggs out of my PowerPoint or something, but this part of the brain is built bigger. It's activated by fear. When the parent gets angry, it lights up this back part of the brain. They're going to get more arguing, more fit throwing, more defiance, more all of that stuff. And we don't want more of it. We want less. Okay, so we don't use any kind of fear. Intimidation, putting your hands on your hips to talk to the child. This body language is, look how big I am. You want to fight? Okay, so we do not stand like that. We also don't allow the child to stand with their the hands on their hips to talk to us. I say, put your hands down. Okay, I don't want them in their pockets, because when their hands are in their pockets when they're talking to you, our children are often playing with their private parts. Are they listening to you? No, they're distracted. So I don't want their hands in their pockets, and it's rude. So I don't want them standing at attention. They're not those soldiers, but they're not, what, Miss David? What can I do, Mr. David? You know, and they're not hands in the pockets.
So,
yeah.
I'm sure that you can, in a non-threatening, you hold your hands open like this. Is that how a person is supposed to talk to a child with their hands open?
I do sometimes, or I just have my hands if I'm sitting. And that's a good question. Our body language is very important. So if a child is as tall as I am or shorter, I can sit to talk to them and I can see them better. If they're this tall and I'm sitting, what does that look like to them? Right, and I look smaller and less powerful. So I would need to stand up before I call that child. Not they're already coming toward me and I'm standing to honor them because they're arriving. But I stand up and then I call the child, or I have them sit down so that I can talk to them and we're here or here, right? So I'm here so they can see I'm not threatening, I don't have anything in my hands, but you're right. This means, like, when we wave at somebody, it means I have no weapons. You know, hi, I have no weapons. So they can see your hands are open, you don't have any weapons, and it's just, this is, I'm shutting you out. I don't want to connect with you. So I don't want to do that. Threats. The next time you get called into flight checks, you're not going to be able to play any games with your family. You don't get to eat any meals at camp the rest of the month. No. So whatever threat is, it's not going to work. It's going to activate this back part of the brain. And parents, do it. If you do that again, I'm going to call a flight check. The next time I see you doing that, I'm going to call a flight check. And I'm like, oh, you have no idea what you're doing inside that head. It's the opposite of what you want. they need to just call the flight check, no threats. Just do it, no warnings, no threats. So, being aware of criticism and negative input, they create it. And you'll see the parents, stop that. I told you don't do that. Get over here, knock it off. You know better than that. Standard parenting for our children. And we don't. When we say, I want you to do a strong sit, they have learned how to do it in the orientation in the beginning, so they know how to strong sit. And they're doing it wrong. Your back is not straight. Your hands are not still. You're leaning to the right. You're not doing it. They're doing it, so you'll give them the negative input, and we're activating the wrong part of their brain. We want to get them moved up here within 7 minutes, so we don't want to do negatives and criticism. I just wait, okay, and I don't stand over them so I'm intimidating. I'm a distance away so they can do their thing, and they're all over, and they're busy looking, who's doing what, what's happening, I don't care, and that's fine. I'll work on a child who's ready to move forward and wait till that one's ready to roll. And then pretty soon you see the back getting straight. I say, oh, look at you, your back's starting to get strong. Then you see them, they get their hands where they need to go. Oh, back straight and your hands are strong. All right, and I check, do they have the opposite arm, the opposite leg? And we'll go through all those in detail, but I check, are they doing it right? And sometimes I can't see from where I am. So like if Heather's on that side and she has a better angle, I'll go, and you can go, give me a little heads up, Or if I want the child to know we are paying attention, I'll say, Miss Heather, does he look like he's straight to you? From my side, he looks straight, but I can't tell from that angle. And then you can say, oh, yeah, he's looking real straight, or I think he'll get there soon. No, he's not sitting straight, kind of a deal. So just be aware they're going to crave negatives. We give them negatives. They're going to be in there a long time. So we really try to catch them doing something right. Okay, the limbic system is the love department. When we hold a baby and bounce them up and down, this is what part of the brain is physically built by that. It's where our emotional centers are. Our love, kindness, comparing, appreciation, compassion, attachment. But it's all the emotions, not just those. When we have a child that has cocaine or heroin before they're born, especially cocaine, we see this part of the brain physically smaller than the rest of the brain. And one of the boys that I had that was addicted to cocaine and had to detox and all that after he was born, I would say, are you mad, sad, glad, scared, or ashamed? He would have to guess because he had no idea. And it wasn't that he was not intelligent, it was that part of his brain was small. And he didn't understand those feelings until we did enough work to get it moving forward. So this is important and we want to build it. The other one we definitely don't. And this is activated by a feeling of safety. We do not get down to their level. We stand up, we're strong, we let them see that we're capable. We don't let them con us, or we don't want to believe their lies, then they think we're stupid. Acceptance, who they are is who they are, and that's okay. God made them that way, and we accept them, absolutely. And then up and down movement. Well, it's a little tricky to pick up. Okay, we got a 14-year-old who needs some limbic system, So we use a mini trampoline. We use jumping jacks. Brain jumps are the opposite of jumping jacks. And even brain booster is up and down. It's more like a squat thing, but it's up and down movement. Horseback riding is good for the limbic system. It's a lot of up and down movement. Sitting in a chair rocking, when we rock our babies, same thing. All right, so neocortex, this is the outer part of the brain. My teachers used to call it the thinking cap. They'd say, put your thinking caps on, we're going to have a spelling test. And it was a really good visual for that outer part of the brain where logic, reasoning, most schoolwork is done there, our language skills, all of that. So we want that part big for them to be successful in school and life. It's activated by joy and laughter. Well, we're at camp. We got that part covered. We are good, okay? So, but at home, these children suck the joy and laughter right out of the house. Nobody's laughing. It is tense, okay? Joy and laughter, very important for this. And they're children. They need to laugh. Okay, oxygen. How do we get oxygen into a brain? What do you think? Deep breathing is good. What else?
Running.
Running, yeah. Exercise, absolutely. What else? Oxygen mask. Well, at this altitude, some people, even the Broncos use it when they, or their teams when they come in. One of the fastest ways, there's one I'm missing, but one of the fastest ways to increase your oxygen is laughing. When we laugh, we suck air in and out very quickly, and it changes. Yawning, that's the other one I forgot. When we yawn, we don't have enough oxygen. Our brain's asking for more, so we do a big yawn. Suggestion. And people think, oh, it means I'm bored. No, it means you're oxygen deprived, which when we kind of get sleepy, because we're bored, we get a little sleepy, or after we eat a heavy meal, we get a little sleepy. It's not enough oxygen to the brain. So, more oxygen. And at camp, they're moving. I mean, in the morning they sit and they do class, but all afternoon it's action, moving, playing games, doing, the treasure hunt and all the water balloon volleyball and stuff. Fashion show. Mozart's music. Dr. Tomatis from France did a tremendous amount of research on what sound does to the brain. He's the one who developed the integrated listening system that Judy was talking about earlier, that we used with my children. The latter part of the children I work with, we didn't have it earlier on. Amazing. It kicks depression. I mean, it is gone. It very helpful for ADD, ADHD. We use it for the children with RAD. It doesn't cure RAD, but it helps their brain to heal so they can make better choices and not get in as much trouble. And it was an hour a day with bone conducting headphones that went right around here. Well, that's where the vagus nerve goes through. So even before we had all that great vagus nerve research, they were listening to filtered sound. And the sound they found closer to the sounds a baby hears in the womb than anything they could synthesize was in Mozart's music. And it's 60 beats to the minute, which calms our heart and helps us to calm. They found children did much higher on tests when they listened to Mozart while they studied. So we play it in the intervention room to help them to calm. Not Beethoven, it's not all classical music, it's just Mozart. Okay? So, temporal lobes. These are right here around the ear areas. And, God, some of my slides are just MIA, okay? So I'll tell you. The temporal lobes are highly impacted by caffeine. What do we take in that has caffeine in it? Yeah, coffee, tea, Coke, Pepsi, chocolate, aspirin, iced tea. There's
Red Bull.
what is it?
Red Bull.
Oh, gee, yeah, you got that one. That research that teenagers did on their own without any kind of scientific people behind them is 5 Red Bulls in a 24-hour period will stop a teenager's heart permanently. They sell it in the high school in the vending machine.
And they give
Parents-
it away at youth groups too.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Parents let their children
Ours.
drink it. And what caffeine does, it can cut the blood supply to the temporal lobes by up to 25%. We're trying to activate it, help it to heal, get it moving forward. Why in the world would we want to cut the blood supply? So there's a reason all these years adults drank coffee and children didn't, okay? But now it's like, well, we don't really have a boundary between where the children are allowed and where, and it's like, no, it was there for a reason. Children didn't drink coffee. And we've had them get in line at the coffee. Abby's our barista. And yeah, we've had children get in line to get a coffee in the morning. It's like, where's your mom? Oh, they let me drink coffee. Well, good. You go bring them here. Let me talk to them.
There's
'Cause-
a lot of people saying that coffee will help kids with ADHD because it's a natural stimulant.
Well, no, it doesn't help them, but it slows them down. Okay, so Dr. I only worked with him for 15 years. Dr. Foster Klein, who developed the Love and Logic program, I worked one-on-one. He was the therapist for the psychiatrist for the children I worked with. He was the therapist and the psychiatrist because he wasn't a pill pusher. He did the treatment, okay? And he said, I want you to give this child 1 cup of coffee and let me know what happens. And with a normal child, that's a terrible word, with a neurotypical child, sorry, what is normal? None of us. It's a button on your dryer, right? With a neurotypical child, it speeds them up. Caffeine gives them a, with a child with ADHD, if it's truly, it slows them down because their system's different. But to give it to them as a treatment is very, why would you? We're going to give you poison to slow your brain down. No. Permanent brain damage is a good plan. Okay, so caffeine impacts the brain that way, cutting the blood supply, and nicotine. Even secondhand smoke, like, when you come out of the airport, everybody who didn't get to smoke on the plane is right outside the door and you go through this big cloud. And children, hold your breath. But some parents don't realize the secondhand smoke cutting that blood supply to the brain. So we want to just be careful and keep children out of that cloud. When we see damage to the left temporal lobe, the left side over here, we see violence. Okay? It's brain damage that causes violence. We see learning problems, temper, aggression, irritability, language, listening, and reading problems. And they can get hit in the head, a bike accident, a car accident, playing soccer where they're whacking the ball with their head, football, getting dropped down the stairs. There's a lot of different things that can hit that temporal lobe, and then we see violence. When we have damage to the right side, we see mood stability, mood swings, problems with social cues like reading facial expressions, problems with rhythm and music. So for years, we would see a child who had mood swings and was violence, and what do you think they diagnosed them with?
ADHD?
Bipolar, absolutely. And put them on bipolar medication. When it was not bipolar, it was brain damage. This part of the brain is hit very, very hard with alcohol before they're born. Dr. Karen Purvis from Texas Christian University found that 80% of the children in foster care had alcohol damage to their brains. 80%. So we just assume child that's come from foster care is going to have some organic struggles that we need to address. We see the violence and the mood stability issues. Temporal lobes, we need to get to the healing pieces for the organic while we're working on the relationship, social, and all the trust building. Right, so temporal lobes, it's just backwards. Caffeine and nicotine. Oh, sleep deprivation, yeah. How many hours a night does a child need to sleep when they're under 14? 12. Wait, you are correct. A neurotypical child needs 10 hours of sleep when they're under 14 years old. A child who's healing needs 12. So if they're healing from a broken leg or a trauma-affected brain, they need 12. So if they get up at 7 in the morning, what time do they need to go to bed? It's not hard, you guys.
I know, right?
They get up at 7 in the morning, it's 12 hours.
5 or 6.
7 at night. Remember, it's a 24-hour cycle, so half of it's 12. So they go to bed at 7. So here at camp, lights out is 7. And they're not used to it because parents think they need 8 hours like an adult. So they're like, oh no, I stay up till 10. Not anymore. And the parents are exhausted and they don't have any one-on-one time with each other because the child's up in the middle of it all the time. So we want to start getting some healthy sleep patterns down, all right? 12 hours when they're healing. If they're 14 and a half and older, they need 9.5 hours if they're neurotypical. They need 10.5 hours if they're healing.
Say those numbers again.
9.5 hours neurotypical, 10.5 hours if they're healing. Up until the age, 2 researchers. One said 22 years old, one said 25 years old. And after that, we need 8. One study they did, they had adults sleep 7 hours a night instead of 8. And at the end of 1 week, the adults were functioning as someone who was legally drunk. For the mood swings that goes with it, for the timing that goes with it, for the decision making. 1 hour off each night for 1 week. There's a plan to be in charge of your life, your car, your So, as a team, we need to sleep. We need to take care of ourselves. And I know we get so wound up a day at camp, especially in the beginning of the violence and the craziness and the fit throwing, and then we start seeing a shift about the middle of the week. I like to listen in the dining hall. It's like I used to have honeybees, my hives, and you listen to the hive to see if it's a good day to take honey or not. And they're like, and you're like, okay, get the smoker out and let's, get the honey. If they're going, you're like, not today. No. So the dining hall's like that, especially the first night. I hate this. I don't want that. Sit down, knock it off. That kind of stuff's going on. And then about the third day, it starts getting real calm. You're sitting in there at lunch and it's like, and you're like, we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a little more smiles than we were seeing by the end of camp. It's just like, you can't believe it. If you get a chance to watch them getting out of the RV, okay, the child will get out first. Total disrespect. It's a strange place. They shouldn't be stepping out first. So they get out first. And the parents are like, Joey, get up, Joey, Sweetums. Oh, come on, back, get, stop, get, you need to, and they're like, can I pet your dog? Like, excuse me, you haven't been introduced to me. Why are you talking to an adult you don't know the name of? I don't say that, but I'm thinking it. Rude, rude, rude. Good thing they're at camp. Okay, so their parents are like trying to unload stuff and get things set up. They're not helping. They're all like in their own world of what they want. At the end of camp, they're like, Mom, what can I do to help you? Dad, can I carry that for you? You know what? I really like doing this and this at camp, and that was a fun thing at camp. They sit at the tables and have conversation. I love camp. I love, love, love camp.
Can I ask you a quick question about this slide?
Yeah.
It says no light, and the only reason why I bring that up is because I'm curious to know if
Children are
it
afraid
makes
of
them
the
feel
dark.
safe to have a nightlight.
No.
Okay.
That's an excellent question, because children let us know when they don't trust us by saying, I'm afraid of the dark, I have to have a nightlight on. And what that means is, I don't trust you to protect me at night. I need a light so I can see incoming danger and take care of it myself. And here at camp, there's no light on. And the parents are in the same room, and they pretty quickly start feeling safe. The problem with the light is that we have a pineal gland that's behind our eyes, kind of in the roof of our mouth. I can't even point to it, it's up in there. And when it's pitch black against our eyes, absolute pitch black, the serotonin, that's our happy juice that keeps us from having depression, gets changed into melatonin, which is what puts us in and out of a deep sleep, healthy sleep patterns. Okay? So melatonin is not produced if there's a light on, or it's produced very little. They did one study with children with autism where they just had a clock where the numbers lit up next to the bed. And that little bit of light interfered with the melatonin production. So we had blackout curtains for our children. There was no light shining under their door. Their doors closed. And I've had parents, he was locked in a room for days. He can't have the door closed. Really? So as an adult, when he stays in a motel or a hotel for business, he has to have the hall door open? I think he needs to get past that. We need to help him with it. It's not we just accept the block that he has. We help him. We don't just go, I don't care if you're scared, we're shutting the door. Okay, we help him get past it as quickly as it. Otherwise, it gets locked in there. I can't have the door closed. I've lived this way for 10 years. I cannot have the door closed. It's like, no, that was 10 years ago. Our house is safe now. We're going to start closing it part way. Tonight I'm just going to close it halfway. No. It's going to be closed halfway. Okay? And then a week or so, now I'm going to leave it open 6 inches. Oh, no. I'm leaving it open 6 inches. Now I'm leaving it open 3 inches. Now I'm closing the door because you have gotten strong enough. I don't think I'm strong enough, Mom. I know you're strong enough. You've got this. We got to help them pass it. We don't let them live with those roadblocks that are going to be an interference in their life. So, lights are out. It's dark. And we got to build the trust before we do that, or they're going to have a meltdown. Okay, so optimize temporal lobes with music. They found within a minute, within a minute and a half, our heartbeat literally changes rhythm to go with whatever music is in our environment. And for years, they did all this brain research, powerful studies on all what the brain does and how it works and ta. Well, then about 8-10 years ago, they started doing a lot more research on the heart. You know what they found in there? It was so amazing. I still can't even believe it. They found brain cells. Brain cells are different from any other cell in our body, different than skin cells or liver cells. There are millions of brain cells in our heart in a cluster. Like the heart has its own brain. And they found the beating of our heart is like native drums, sending signals to our brain that changes the neurotransmitters. More serotonin, less dopamine, up with the GABA, whatever, by the rhythm of our heartbeat. And Miss Judy was talking about that heart math. Amazing for helping us get control of our own heartbeat, of our own breathing. So what they found is that with the heart math, when we have tremendous stress, we can learn to make our brain work anyway. It's called coherence. So this heart math shows you your stress level. Or depending on where you're at, it shows your average resting heart rate, and it shows what your brain coherence is. How well can you think right now? Which is kind of interesting to see inside a child. And then it helps us to learn how to regulate our brain so we can make it work at full speed no matter how much stress we're under. For these big executives in a big stressful meeting with multi-million-dollar deals and whatever, they got to think straight or it's going to cost them money. Positive and complicated input, catch them doing something right to help the temporal lobes. And, besides, I hate Keynote. I really love PowerPoint. Positive and complicated input is also memorizing spelling words, memorizing mathematics like, in multiplication tables, games like Sudoku, crossword puzzles, jigsaw puzzles, that kind of stuff, where we're having to think. When I was a kid, we used to play a card game called Concentration, where you put half of the deck aside. You made sure there were 2 2s and 2 2s and 2 4s, like that. And you'd lay them all down, and then you had to find the pairs. So you pick it up, there's an 8, and you pick it up, there's a 4. Well, next time you pick up an 8, and you got to remember where the other 8 is, and that would build the temporal lobes. Building the temporal lobes, so good. Memorizing Bible verses, poetry, all those things, so good. 10 to 12 hours of sleep for a child with no light, and we went over the hours of sleep for all that. Basal ganglia. This is a little teeny spot on the brain. I don't know where my brain pictures are, but it's kind of shaped like a jelly bean, and it's next to the temporal lobes, but it's highly impacted by trauma. And when it's not working, it like dispenses the neurotransmitters, okay? So when we don't have enough dopamine, because the basal ganglia got hit by the PTSD, we see ADHD. That's not enough dopamine in the brain. Poor handwriting, real jerky movements with the pen. Parkinson's disease is a condition where it's affecting the basal ganglia, so it's not putting out the right amount of neurotransmitters. Lack of motivation, tiredness, I don't care, whatever, that kind of thing. So we optimize with the Ritalin, and all the cousins of Ritalin increase dopamine, puts it up. Protein increases dopamine. What do we eat that has protein in it?
Eggs.
Eggs. What else?
Tuna.
Yep, tuna.
Yogurt.
Yep, yogurt, dairy, cottage cheese, milk, all those, sour cream. Yeah, nuts. Yeah, nuts have good protein.
Beef, chicken.
Yeah, beef, chicken, meat.
Beans.
Beans are an incomplete protein, but they are protein if we do it right. Vegetarians have to know how to balance their aminos. So there's 22 puzzle pieces, so to speak, of a protein. Beans are missing 2 of those essential amino acids, are called puzzle pieces. Without those 2, the body cannot use it as a usable source of protein. Those 2 are completely balanced out if we eat rice with the beans or corn with the beans. And all of the ancient cultures that were bean based ate corn or rice with it. So Americans leave out the ancient customs, and it's like, we're just going to throw some beans in this salad and have it for protein. No, you're not. The body can't use it to build the protein pieces. So we have to make sure we're balancing those amino acids. And oxygen. This part of the brain needs oxygen. The other part of the brain needs oxygen. We got another one coming up that needs oxygen. What do our children do that eliminates oxygen in their brain? Yep, they hold their breath when they get upset. Yes, and what else?
Sit around and do nothing.
Sit around and do what?
Nothing. Video
Well,
games.
Video games, absolutely. Hours of video games or computers. Yep. Or
TV.
Phone.
TV.
All the screens.
Yep. The average American child spends 6 hours a day between the TV, the Xbox, Nintendo thing, and the computer after they're in school all day.
And at school, they give them Chromebooks, and that's how they have to do all of their homework now.
Yep, until we get in there and make them change it, absolutely. And with mine, I went in there and said, oh no, they have to have, and I said, no. They're like, well, how are we going to train your child? I said, you know what? It is so cool. They have these things called books and paper. They work for 200 years.
Right.
I believe in them very faithfully. I don't want my child educated in pornography, but thank you for offering. Oh, we don't allow them to get on pornography in here. I'm like, you know what? 15 minutes, my child can bypass any firewall, anything you put up. No, thank you. So, the schools don't like me. I make it hard for them, and I don't care. My child's going to be safe. And I just found, I had a tutor that came to the house. I was like, I can't do this. All right, so oxygen. They got to be moving, climbing mountains, riding horses, doing stuff, floating the river. Right now, that'd be a little scary. That'd be a lot of oxygen. It's high. All right, and positive thoughts. My children had goals. I want to be able to ride my bike. I want to be able to go to a friend's house. I want to be able to have a birthday party. I want whatever it is. They had goals. So they were reaching for things all the time. I want to be able to do this. I want more freedom, little bit by little bit, step by step, so that they could show me they were ready for it, and then we would move forward. Because they didn't have freedom when they first came. I mean, they played. They were just right next to me. And they wanted to be everywhere except right next to me. They wanted freedom from me. It's pretty much what they wanted. And that wasn't happening until they were stable. They were glued right here. All right? Exercise. There you go. Basal ganglia sometimes goes wacko and puts out too much dopamine. And then we see anxiety disorders, panic attacks, hypervigilance, freezing during stress, Tourette's. Now, any of these, especially if the child's on medication, we want the parents to check with the doctor. But L-tryptophan is the the building material for the body. It's an amino acid, but it's the building material for the body to make the serotonin that makes the melatonin, so they can be happy and they can sleep if they have enough tryptophan in their system. It's very high in turkey. It's very high in walnuts. It's pretty good in broccoli. But turkey and walnuts are really excellent sources. And there's a product from the health food store called 5-HTP. The TP stands for tryptophan. And the 5-HTP is actually the building material for the body to make the tryptophan, to make the neurotransmitters. So after I had my depression, I was on antidepressants for a couple of years. And I didn't think I would ever be on antidepressants in my whole life. But it was like not a choice. So I did that for a couple of years. And then I did 5-HTP for 5 years, and someone said, oh, you can't take that long term. Oh no, excuse me, I did St. John's wort for 5 years. And they said, oh, you can't take that long term. I'm like, I just did. So I switched to 5-HTP, and I took that until 4 months ago, and then it wasn't working anymore. I was very negative, and I'm not a negative person. I'm pretty positive. I believe there's hope and we can do things. And I was like, meh, meh, meh. So my doctor put me on, some antidepressant that won't mess up my heart, but I never heard of it before, but I can't remember what it is. And I was like, this. And I said, I feel like I have 5 cups of coffee and I don't even drink coffee. so he cut it down. But anyway, I'm going to do that for a year and then go back to the 5-HTP. But anyway, there's a St. John's wort. It's just leaves they pick, dry them, and they put them in a capsule. But it recirculates the serotonin in the body. And certainly no Ritalin or any of the cousins of Ritalin. If we're seeing an anxiety disorder, that is absolutely the opposite of what they need. Okay, and I've seen psychiatrists give it to the children. I'm like, what? There was a girl in Oklahoma, 11 medications. Could not get her out of the facility even to go home for a visit. To get her to go for a visit, 2 staff members would take her hands while she kicked and screamed all the way to the car. Grandma would drive the car. Mom would sit in the back seat and restrain her so they could get her home for a visit for the afternoon. Bring her back. Mom restraining her in the back seat. It was 11 medications. So they called me up. They said, we need to look at some options here. I said, oh, happy to come. So I went and I observed what they were doing and realized where we were having some issues. If they were good that day, the staff gave them a Pepsi before they went to bed. Isn't that thoughtful? I mean, there was all kind of nonsense going on. I'm like, oh my, what? Hello. In the morning, they all went and sat at their desk with the TV on, and they were served 3 bowls of sugared dry cereal with an orange and a container of orange juice. Or there were 2 different apple juice, orange juice, concentrated. So it was like, load them up with sugar. They're sitting in their desk. Nobody's talking, no social, it was like, whoa. Anyway, we did some work with the little girl. I set up a different program there, and the therapists were talking to her. Hello. What else have you worked with? Anyway, so I'm not a therapist, but they don't know what they're doing, and she's drowning. So I said, okay, I'm not a therapist, but I'm surrounded by 6 therapists, so I will show you how to do it, and you do it. So they did a session with the child, a real session besides chatting with her. How do you feel? Oh, okay, thank you for sharing. You know, you should do this and you should do that. And she's like, yeah, right, you and who else are going to make me? So we had a therapy session. Mom was there holding her, worked it through. And then I took her hand. We went out in the car. Mom was sitting next to me. I'm sitting next to the child in case she tries to jump. Grandma's driving. We went out to an ice cream shop, sat and had ice cream and visited. And Mom was like, whoa. I mean, the staff was ready for her to go ballistic just walking out of the building. She just walked nice. We had a great time. And then we came back and took her back, and then she just walked. And they were like, whoa. It's like, yeah, she didn't feel safe. So,
Was she
anyhow.
able to wean off of the meds?
I hope so. I highly recommended it, but the psychiatrist was looking at me like this while I was highly recommending it. I'm like, 11? And she's like that? It's not working. Okay, that's just common sense. She's a little girl. What's that doing to her brain development? What's it doing to her liver trying to detoxify it? Hello? But they're like, okay, she's still violent and out of control. Let's give her another one. Okay, that's not working. Let's give her... Because psychiatrists now, that's their toolbox. And they used to have a lot better toolbox. Okay, and they don't. So they're not bad people. They just... If there was a pill that would open your heart to love, on Valentine's Day, they would sell barrels of that stuff. There isn't one. So, all right. Cingulate gyrus. This is the gear shifter. So my program was developed to work on this and the outer cortex, right? So the cingulate gyrus, it gets stuck. To move from the back to the front, you got to get the gear shifter to move. It's like in your car. If it's jammed in park, you can't do reverse, you can't do drive, reverse, because you can't go anywhere, you're stuck. So our children blow up, and it should be, okay, I'm upset, I need 5 minutes of screaming because I wanted a cookie before lunch, and it's 2.5 hours. Over what? I mean, And you're like, what? Because the brain shift is jammed and they can't move to, oh, this is silly. I need to just move forward. They're stuck in, I'm going to die. Okay? So we got to get that part of the brain moving. Our goal is 7 minutes on that thing. When it's jammed, we see oppositional defiant disorder. I'm not going to do it and you can't make me. Okay? We see obsessive compulsive disorder. We do the same thing over and over. Can we go to McDonald's? Can we go to McDonald's? Can we go to McDonald's? No, we are not going to McDonald's. Can we go to McDonald's? No, we are not going to. Can we go to like, will you please stop? And they can't. Their brain is just stuck in that hamster wheel because the gear shifter's jammed. Okay? When never mind. Optimize, quickly correcting, not letting them do. Can we go to McDonald's? Can we go to McDonald's? Every time they do that, they're literally digging grooves in their brain. You know, I know you know, David, but not everybody lives on a driveway like ours. But sometimes we get so much mud, somebody will drive down there and you get those ruts in the mud and then they dry. And then you try to drive not in them and it pulls your car down into the ruts because they're deep. And that's what happens when our children do it wrong over and over. Like, I have to sleep with the door open for 10 years, okay? Those grooves are now deep, and we're trying to get the child past it. We've got a lot more work. So we want the parents, the first time the child chews with their mouth open, the first time the elbow hits the table, the first time they don't say yes, mom, or please, or thank you, that's when we want them to do the intervention. So it's real clear to the child exactly what they did wrong. If they say, Mom, 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 flight check. Then the child's like, am I allowed 7 moms or 8 moms? I wasn't real sure. You're allowed 1. So we have to be more clear, correcting quickly. And because I've had team members, they're like, he does one little thing and the mom sends him into flight check. Yes, that's what we want. Good, awesome. He took 1 step in front of his mother and she called it. Yes, perfect. He will learn so much faster. You know, rather than, you know, in front of me, excuse me, come back here. Excuse me. All right, so what we're aiming for, consequence the first time. Consequence is an action. It's not a reminder. It's not a punishment where we want you to suffer. We want you to feel bad, okay? I've had parents where the child says they want to sweep the cabin they're staying in. And I'm like, well, I bet it's full of leaves like ours is. That sounds like probably your mom would like that. And the mom's like, well, he likes sweeping. Well, good. Then he's happy and you're happy. But parents think it needs to hurt. They need to suffer or they won't move away from the bad behavior. Oxygen. This is the other part of the brain. The gear shifter. Oxygen. So moving. If they sit in the teepee, hours and hours, we're not getting it. We want to get those trampolines, have somebody going. We want the jumping jacks, get some movement. I mean, sometimes they're tired. They've been jumping, the brain's not working. They just need to rest. Then we put them in a sit. Okay, but try to keep that balance going. Positive input. Catch them doing something right. Oh, you just walked past your sister and you didn't hit her. Look at you getting strong. Strong sitting. We're going to do that. Not today. All right, so we did the first year cycle. That's during the first year. At the first birthday, when they move into the second year cycle, we have a different cycle that happens. If the first year cycle isn't completed, it's interrupted too many times, their needs aren't met, they don't learn to trust because nobody's answering their cries fast enough or at all, then we get to the second year cycle and they can't do it. It doesn't happen. And that will be the children coming to camp. So they want some, whatever it is. Parents set appropriate limits. They say no. The child then is supposed to accept the limit. Okay, I won't do it. Okay, I won't try. All right, and then we give them more freedom, more autonomy. Well, our children want something. Parents set limit, and they're like, yeah, you and who else are going to stop me? They don't accept the limit. They just fight it because the first year wasn't completed, so the second year we can't complete it. I mean, yeah, we can, but we have a challenge with it. So we redo both cycles at camp. We have the children ask for their needs. Okay. So when you transport a child from the table to the processing table, okay, they need their food. If it's during a meal, okay, tomorrow evening dinner will be the first time we're really doing interventions, okay? So it's during a meal, parents call for a flight check, somebody needs to transport the child to the table where we're going to process their brain, help them to get their brain shifted, and somebody needs to get their plate of food that the parents prepared for the child. All right, so you bring the plate of food with no fork, no knife, no drink, nothing. Okay, just the plate. Because we want them to ask for their needs. What do they need?
Fork.
You got it. Yes, boom, they need their utensils. Absolutely. Okay? So it's so interesting to watch these children. Any other child would say, could I please have a fork? I'd say, well, try that again. May I please have? Yeah, there you go. Happy to. And I sit with a cup full of forks and spoons and napkins and everything right there. So they can see I have them. And the child will be like, and I just pull the plate, and I'll just keep visiting. Hey, isn't this lovely weather? We're having such a. I wait 1 minute. I say, what happened? I don't know. Okay, I just love having the river go by. It's peaceful. Seen any good movies lately? Me neither. I haven't been to movies in years. Oh, yeah. So what happened? I was putting my fingers in my food. Good thinking. You got it. Here you go. So, yeah, we're all having a good time, and they're like, yeah, I love having the teepee up at camp. It just feels so special to have that by the river. Kid's like, I have no idea how I'm supposed to eat. I have no idea how to solve this problem. It is just impossible. I was like, what happened? Well, I was just trying to eat. How were you just trying to eat? With my face in my food. All right, good job telling the truth. Sometimes they sit there till another child asks for a fork. And then they go, oh, may I please have a fork? And you're like, you're 10 years old and you can't? Sure, great, fork, good idea. I just think you're 10 years old. Yeah, good asking. Here you go. May I please have a drink? Absolutely. Here you go.
So what if they go into freeze when you take the plate? Not freeze, fight.
Oh, sometimes they do.
Yeah.
Then you go,
What are you doing? Give me your plate.
Miss Cheyenne, here's one for you. They have to go in the teepee.
Okay.
So Miss Cheyenne is our flight check chief, and they go in the teepee with her team members. So we have a whole crew in there, not just one person. And yeah, they can go ballistic in the teepee, and it's fine. It's a good place for that. But they have to ask for what they need. May I please use the bathroom? We don't like, do you need to go potty? Do you need to go potty? May I please use the bathroom? There's some weird noise in the kitchen. So we want to have the parents say yes to everything the child asks for that they need. We're going to meet their needs. It's very, very important for these children. And say no to everything they ask for that they don't need. Okay? So that's how we start in the beginning. And it's like, can I go play volleyball? No. Not, well, no, honey, because they can't remember the answer. It's just no. Well, why not? That's an excellent question. You tell me why I said no. Because you're the meanest mom in the entire world. Try a different answer. Because you want me right next to you right now. There you go. That works. Okay. So we say yes to all the needs. We say no to all the wants. And some of them need it for a couple of weeks. Some of them need it for a couple of months. I had one that was 4 months. I had to say no to all the wants until he said, oh, okay, Mom. And I said, you know what? I just changed my mind. Yes. I can ride my bike? Absolutely. I was just waiting for him to accept the limit so I could give him a little bit more freedom. But he was glued to me before that. So I'm redoing the cycle that should have been done. And Freud and Erikson both use the same cycle, the same information. It's old stuff. It's nothing new. It's just that our children didn't complete them, so they don't have those skills. They can't accept no. Major meltdown when the parents say no. So parents stop saying no. They start walking on eggshells. And one mom I worked with, she was so crazy about that. The child said, "Mom, do we have any ice?" She said, "Well, yes, but it's not frozen." I mean, they need to be able to handle no. What about out in the world? The boss says, you know, they say, "Can I do this project? I'd really love to do it." No, and they got to throw a screamer?
I have a question.
Hmm?
I witnessed, I don't remember what store it was, a small child asked for something and the mother said no. And she threw herself down screaming and crying and the mother did the same and she stopped right away. Are they embarrassed? So they stop?
A normal healthy child would be embarrassed and they would stop. But a child with reactive attachment does it to shock the parents. And when it doesn't shock them and the parent just joins them, I've done it at home. I haven't done it in a store. But I'd give him his plate of food and he'd throw himself down on the floor. "I hate that. That's hot. It's cold. I'm not eating it." Every night at dinner. And I thought, why should he have all the fun? You know? So I decided the next night when Jerry would put the food on the plate and we'd pass it down. When I handed him his food and he went off, I was just going to throw myself, you know. So Jerry gave me my plate of food. And I threw myself down on the floor, and I was down there kicking and screaming. I was doing an outstanding job of it, I must say. I've been trained by some of the finest fit throwers, and I was like, "It's hot, it's cold, I don't like this, I'm not eating it, you can't make me." And I looked up, and I saw my husband's face, and I realized I had not warned the man that I was going to do that. And the expression on his face was, "I knew she was going to go crazy someday. Now look at my wife. She's a lunatic." On the floor. And I was like, uh-oh, I probably did that wrong. And the child's going, "Mom, you look really stupid." I said, "Well, I just need to practice more. I'm trying to get as good as you are."
Yeah.
Then he quit throwing fits. And it was fun. That's why they do it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was fun. Did you ever just
Yes,
do,
it is.
you know, we're grown-ups. We aren't allowed to act like that. Who says? Yeah, just
Well,
join.
we
But
can-
I couldn't do it in a store. Could you do it in a store?
No.
I couldn't do it in a
I think
store.
it would depend. What do you do if they did that, start declaring that you're mocking them?
It is a
Because that
lot.
has happened. It is.
a lot.
That's happened. So I've done
Yeah.
like what you described, and you're just mocking me.
Well, it is a little bit of mocking them. I guess you could look at it that way. I said, I would probably ask them a question so that I was taking control back. But
Okay.
what question would I ask them? Why do you think I did that? Because you wanted me to see what I look like when I do it. Right. So is that an awesome mom or is that a mocking mom? It's an awesome mom.
I like that.
One child said to his mom, "You know what? It was a lot less work before you became an awesome mom. Now it's hard." Oh, our kids. So we redo both your cycles, and I've had it. Sometimes they're 15, 16 years old. They haven't completed this cycle, and I got to do it. So our goals are to support the parents. What's our number one goal?
Support the parents.
Our second most important goal is support the parents. All right, our third most important goal is empower the parents. Okay, we want to give them tools. We want them to know we believe in them. We want them to know they can do this. We want the child to know. And we call them awesome mom and awesome dad in front of the children. And, you know, like we get the plate of food at the intervention table and we're like, "Wow, look at that plate that awesome mom put together for this child. Wow." They don't notice, you know, so we do. Heal their hearts. Absolutely. Heal their brains. Bond the families to each other. Create memories that last a lifetime. You know, families can't go on vacation. With these children, you can't take them anywhere. Walmart is a nightmare, more or less Disneyland or something. So they don't have memories of fun family adventures, camping, and, you know, stuff that we have. What do you got, Lon? she seems to be moving on.
I have a little question. So,
Yes.
So like I've done the Florida camp and how it's all set up. It's a little bit different here because we have the RVs. Are we doing? Is there like a team for like nighttime flight checks?
Yeah.
And like where would they sleep? The kids.
Well, it depends on who's on duty that night and what
Okay.
works best for them.
Okay.
But we always have 2 staff,
Okay.
so the child doesn't say something happened.
Right.
Sometimes the staff sleeps in here, and we put
Okay.
a yoga mat down with a sleeping bag for the child.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm on duty, and I put them in the hallway outside our door. So when we're working in the teepee, or anywhere, if we're working in here, and I say something like, Michelle, would you please go sit over there? And Michelle's kind of like, is it my deodorant, or you don't like me? What? Okay, what it is there's a child getting ready to run, and I need you blocking the gate. So sometimes you'll be asked to do something, you're like, what is that about? Just wait, you'll see pretty quick. And I can't explain it, so I can't say, he's getting ready to run, because he's going to bolt. All right, so we want to be mindful of that. But creating memories, instead of the nightmares that they have at night of their past that was true, we want them to close their eyes and think about water balloon volleyball, laughing with their family. You know, that one's my favorite. That's why I keep talking about it. I do love the fashion show too, but there's just lots and lots of activities of laughing and playing together, of those little moments that just I want them to have for their whole life. My family, you know, at Christmas time or whenever, we're going to do it next year on our 50th anniversary, we all get together, and the kids always like talking, remember when Mom and Dad, remember when we did this, remember, you know, and these children, they're going to grow up and have, yeah, I remember, fighting, kicking, screaming, Mom's mad, Dad's screaming, Dad's not showing up because he's tired. You know, what we want them to have memories of good stuff. And what are they going to remember? Remember that weird camp we went to? You remember Mr. David? Yeah. Do you remember Miss Michelle? Yeah. We are part of their memories. And they literally play flight check crew when they get home. And they will play us. We become characters in there. One camp, I took all the parents out to do the orientation, and I said, you know, this team can handle the kids. And the parents were like, I don't know, we've been gone a while, I'm really worried. I said, no, they've got this. And so we walked in the door, and there were 6 team members in their flight check shirts, and they all turned around as we came in, and they looked like the Apollo 13 crew. You know, like, we've got this. And the kids were all setting the table quietly and finishing up things, and it was like, look at this team. Somebody knows how to put them together. The Broncos need to pray harder so he can put their team together. That's pitiful, dear. Anyway, create memories. Parents call for help. I'm going to go over this so quickly it'll make your head spin because your heads are already spinning, because we are going to do it day after tomorrow. Okay, but I want you to have a little bit of time to put it in your head. So when the parent calls for help, they raise their hand and they say flight check. We are the flight check crew because we use the eagle as the theme for camp, and we want to help children to soar to the heights of greatness like an eagle that God designed them to soar to. All right, so they raise their hand and they call flight check. Then we arrive assertively, calmly, and quickly, and then we escort quickly, quietly. We don't chat the child up or answer their questions. We just get them to the processor when we're a transporter. We don't talk to the child. Then we give directions, very short and clear. Sit here. Like, we don't do, would you like this chair? Do you feel like sitting there? You pick the chair according to what processor has an opening and where their siblings are. If they already have a brother or sister there, we don't want them next to their brother or sister. We want them somewhere else. But the first night it's kind of hard because we aren't real sure who's who, and if somebody else brought the other one, you don't know they came from the same. So we just, if the transporter goes, that means I've got the sister, you need to, okay? So I want you to sit here. I want you to jump. If they're supposed to be jumping on a mini tramp, in the teepee, they take their shoes off when they get in there first because it's harder for them to run far with no shoes. and it keeps the teepee a little cleaner, okay? Then we wait, okay? Until they do the jumping or the taking the shoes off or whatever, we wait. So sit down, relax, get comfortable. Might be 2 minutes, might be 2 days. It's okay. However long the child needs. Then the parents are with another staff member filling out the card about what happened, and they should bring the food. But as the transporter, you want to make sure they didn't get distracted and go this way and nobody got the food and the child's not getting their food. They need to eat. We've got to fuel their bodies, okay? So the parent support is supposed to get the food, but sometimes mom's crying and having a meltdown and the support needs to stay a little longer, and then the transporter can go back and get the plate without the silverware. Okay, so parent support, the transporter and the parent support work as a team. So when somebody calls flight check, the two of them go together, and I have you set up in teams, and we'll cover it that morning. But one person gets the child, one person supports the parent. The parent gets chocolates, whatever goodies. Some people don't eat chocolates, and milk chocolates have dairy in them. Annalie, no, it's not Annalie. One of the parents is dairy free. All right, so we have other goodies, I think. I don't know, do we have other goodies?
We'll have to double check that.
Yes, please do. All right, then we smile. Hey, good job calling. Because you guys spend 2.5 days of training, and if nobody calls any flight checks, we twiddle our thumbs all week instead of getting some great experience. So we're excited to give us your raging child. We're ready. All right, so we smile, we touch, pat on the back, touch a hand, whatever, touch some way. Encourage. Yes, you've got this. That's so good you called. I'm so glad you did that. And then help them to get the card filled out if they're busy losing it. And you don't say out loud, oh, he was chewing with his mouth open. Well, I'm glad you called. Because then they're just parrot back what you said instead of thinking, what was I doing that I'm not supposed to be doing? What happened? So we don't want the parent to say it out loud. If they start saying it out loud, say, nope, nope, just write it down. Don't say it out loud. Keep the card with the child. If you put it in your pocket and go to help somebody else, the processor can't do their job. We can't ask them what happened when we don't know the truth because they'll lie. And we've had it where a child runs and the team member goes after the child. 2 hours later, they've got the child, they're coming back, but the one we had to sit and wait even though they were ready to go back, and that's kind of deflating. So we want to just do it. Just toss it to another team. Please deliver that with Joey. They're all named Joey today. We have kangaroos coming, I'm not sure. All right, processing. Okay, the processor, we get the child, we wait. We don't just like get them going right away at the table. We let them finish eating their meal. But even if they come into the intervention room, we get them going on the brain shifter. Give them some time. A lot of people want to right away. So it's okay. Once they finish their brain shifter or they finish eating, they calm down, they get back thinking, then we say, what happened? What are the 2 words we use?
What happened?
What happened? Absolutely. If we say, what did you do wrong? What did you do bad? It's all shaming and blaming. What happened is just a neutral term, but it's not, we don't want to say it with a tone of voice like it's intimidating. Just a questioning, friendly, what happened? Right? Child then demonstrates the use of logic and honesty by telling you what's exactly on the card. If it's halfway what's on the card, they're not ready. Parents get real unhappy if they come back with only half of it. But we've had them wait until there's 6 things on the card, and the child has to think of all 6 things that happened. Or, you know, they started to call it by the second one, and then the child added on a bunch, and it's so much that they're in there a long time sorting it through. And I used to get frustrated by that, but this is a tired parent when they have a child doing that much stuff. So if it takes longer, it's giving the parents more time to recharge, so it's a win-win. It works. All right, so when they tell you what happened, we say, good job telling the truth, and then we give them a high five. The parents give them a hug right there, but we touch. So we do them a high five. Now, these children, they're cunning and manipulative. You put your hand up for a high five, they'll put their hand down so you can high five them their way. The subtlest little teeny moves, they're going to do it. and you need to make sure you're aware of all the little stuff. And it's hard. It's distracting in there, and they'll get you to do it, and you're like, oh, really?
So then do we take them back? If it's a gamey kind of lip arm
I
high
hold my
five?
hand up, they put theirs down, and I just look at them, and then they high five me right, and we move on. If they're like, I'm like, go jump on the mini tramp. No, I'm ready to go. What did I say I want you to do? Jump on the mini tramp. Right. So you go with your gut. If it was just like, oh, I can't get by with that, and they're just going to move on for a second, that's okay. We'll work it out. But if it's I don't want the parents to have to deal with it. What can you do to make it up to mom or dad? It says on the card who called it. And usually we just call that an act of kindness. We started out years ago calling it restitution, but families changed the word to retribution, which is not the same as restitution. It's a little meanness in there. So, and kids don't know what restitution is. It's too big of a word. They know what an act of kindness is. Okay, one mom called it an A-OK. I thought, that works. And then everything's A-OK. We got it all worked out. All right, so what can you do for an act of kindness for your mom? They want to say, I'll say sorry. And I just say, you know what? Lying is not going to help. What else could you do? Because it's not saying something, it's doing something. They want to color her a picture. Right. They're going to scribble on a piece of paper and throw it at her. No. Okay, if it's a 5-year-old, they can do one picture for mom. But I sent them down with the paper and the crayon. Let me see it. And it better have some effort in it. It looks nice. It's not, here's dad with a knife in his head. You know, no. All right. So otherwise, they need to do something. Rub lotion on her hands, give her a back rub, sweep out the RV, clear her plate at the table. They have to think of it. And I've had them where they're in there for hours. They get what happened, and they cannot think of one nice thing to do for mom. Not one. Big boy, he was 15 also. We slipped those guys in. And it was, I don't know, I was working with him almost all afternoon, and it was like 3 or 4 hours. I cannot think of one nice thing to do for my mom. Well, then, the little stinker, he goes, excuse me, Miss Nancy. I said, yes, David. He said, would you please help me? May I please have a clue? Well, he just asked respectfully. Now, what the heck am I supposed to do? I could have helped the kid. So I said, sure, I'll be happy to give you a clue. Some people like foot rubs. That wasn't really a clue. It was like the whole solution. So he's like, ew! I'm not touching her stinky feet. I said, oh, take your shoe off. What? I said, what did I say? You said take my shoe off. Right, do it. So he took his shoe off. I got some wipes, I washed his foot, and I rubbed lotion on his foot. I said, how do you think your mom would like that? She would like it. Right, are you ready? I didn't even let him have a choice at that point. I was ready to strangle a little twerp. So I had somebody go and get mom. I said, all right, we're going to sit your mom there. I'm going to rub this foot. You're going to rub that foot. You ready? Yes, Miss Nancy. I said, all right. So we're rubbing lotion. I said, you know what? I love this foot. I love this foot because this is the foot that drives you to soccer every week. To you. I like this foot because it has nice toes. All right, my turn. I love this foot because this is the foot that stands in front of the stove to cook you all the food to help you to grow big and strong. To you. I like this foot because she drives me lots of places. All right, there you go. I love this foot because it's attached to a mom that knows how to love a boy that needs a lot of love. To you. I love this foot because this foot drove me to wherever it was, I don't remember. What do you think mom's doing?
Drinking it in.
Melting down, just tears pouring. He didn't get it. Even her big toe was about taking care of her son, and he's like, ew. I'm like, oh, he's getting over that. I mean, usually they have to think of something. I mean, 99% of the time. But it's so funny. There'll be 4 or 5 of them stuck in there. I have no idea what I can do nice that would make I have no idea. And some kid will come in with an idea and they all hear it. One of them was going to fluff his mother's pillow. All of the children were then fluffing pillows. I'm like, okay, we'll take it. It works. All right.
The turn down service tonight.
Yeah, turn down service. Okay, so acts of kindness. They're not allowed to say sorry, or I'm going to give her a hug, or give him a hug, give dad a hug. All right. I'm going to be nice. Well, they're supposed to be nice. Children don't give parents hugs. They get a hug from the parent. The parents don't need a hug from the child. The child literally needs hugs from the parent. All right. So good ideas are to rub mom or dad's hands, feet, back, head, brush their hair, clear the table, make the beds, carry bags, clean the car, that kind of stuff. But again, we aren't giving them ideas. They have to think of them. They need to be made up within a reasonable time, or they can come in and, do some work in the team room to give their family a rest, or by eating with us at a meal, so the family can have a meal in peace. And we don't chat them up, and we're so happy to have you at our table. We're just like, I like quiet children.
So that would be considered a restitution?
If they're so far behind and mom's worried about it and trying to supervise chores is a nightmare,
Right.
then they just get to miss a meal.
And that's something that they come up with or that the team decides?
If the parents come and they're concerned about the long list,
Okay.
then we offer that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And no threats, no bribes, because it causes problems with the brain. When we take them back to the parents, and again, we're going to do this when we do the role play, so don't worry about not getting every bit of it. We hold their hand, and they need to hold our hand back. Sometimes you hold somebody's hand and they're like, ew, you're dirty, and you feel like, we call that the dead fish. They're going to hold their mom's hand like that. They're going to hold their dad's hand like that. Traveling with these children is a nightmare. I've had parents where the child behind them tries to choke them while they're on the interstate. I've had them kick the windshield out on the interstate. They're killing the sister in the back seat, shoving stuff down her throat while they're trying to drive. Throwing things, hitting them in the head, it's awful. One mother got enough tranquilizers from the psychiatrist to knock her son completely out on the plane so she could get him to camp. I mean, she had to tranquilize him, drug him out. The only way she could get him to camp. He didn't need any pills on the way home. But I just keep praying for the families because I know they're preparing to come. Some are already driving, and they're scared, they're stressed, they're exhausted, and it's not safe. So if you would help me with that, just whenever you think of them, lift them up in prayer so that they can get here safely. That would be